Hey, and welcome back. It is 3 June, and what a difference a day makes, huh? Or a couple of days make there. So you've got this motley crew coalition held together by gum and tape. Lots of different parties with lots of different agendas and lots of different egos from all across the spectrum, uniting to defeat their common enemy, the dictator Bibi Netanyahu, who's been in power for 12 years now? Way too long. So it's, when you're, I guess you could say about this coalition is the enemy of my enemy is my friend, But like all coalitions built on a common enemy and nothing else in common, once the enemy is dissipated, once the enemy is gone, then they realize they have to live together. And like any married couple, the little, the big threat's gone, and then the little differences and fissures start to break open. And like I said, I doubt this coalition will last very long. You've got the prime minister, who's an ultra-nationalist Zionist settler, guy. And then on the other end, you've got an Islamist who doesn't even believe in the state of Israel. And then in between, you've got a whole bunch of people along for the ride just to get rid of Bibi Netanyahu. Believe me, I'm no fan of Bibi Netanyahu. But hopefully what they can do, while they're still, in the honeymoon stage, is pass a law with term limits. So make it like 2 terms, 10 years at the most. You can serve as prime minister total, not consecutive, but total. So 2 terms. That should be enough there. And then that party, even if they win a majority again, will have to pick someone else to be the prime minister, and then also hopefully pass some kind of law that will, if someone in the cabinet, someone that's prime minister has been indicted, that they be removed from office, at least from that part of the office. They can still serve in the Knesset until the charges are resolved. The bad or the good thing about Israeli justice is just extremely slow. So these charges have been going on ever since Netanyahu's been in office. So 12 years now. It's took the prosecutors to build their case. They're not even close to even bringing it to trial, okay? And then after that, you got to get a conviction. After conviction, there's years and years of appeals. So essentially, a prime minister who's even been convicted could stay prime minister for years and years and years upon appeals, and essentially never leave. He could die of old age before the wheels of Israeli justice turn and actually imprison them. And then he can always come back. I mean, look at the last prime minister. He's come back, not politically, but it didn't destroy him completely. So, an indictment in Israel is not the end of everything. But at least everyone has come together in this motley crew coalition, a bunch of misfits, I like a lot of these people, but in order to have an effective government, you have to have a strong leader like Benjamin Netanyahu. I just don't agree with a lot of things that he's done. I do agree with some things. I don't agree with other things. I do agree that he has strung out the Gaza situation for his benefit for 12 years, never actually solving the problem by invading Gaza and taking out Hamas. He strings it along because as long as there's a permanent threat, people are going to run to the right. People always do that. They run to the police. They run to the right-wing parties because that offers them supposedly security. But if you solve the problem, which actually go in, so think about it. The rockets, people are running to the right because the rockets every 6 months or 2 years are firing. Now the rockets are firing because they have a safe place to fire from. There's no, you can't fight an enemy and call them on the phone and warn them, hey, we're going to blow your building up, and expect them to die, and expect them to wait around and get killed. So they've got a safe haven to launch their rockets, which serves Benjamin Netanyahu, because now he's got a permanent boogeyman that, if you don't vote for me, if you vote for the left, they're soft on terrorism, and then he launches in the Air Force to bomb a couple of places. It looks good, on TV, and he can sit up there and talk about, how bad Hamas is and how, which they are bad, but he never actually takes care of the situation. Like I said, it's like a cancer doctor that never actually, he treats your cancer but never actually tries to cure his cancer. I used to have a girlfriend, and she had this like 1982 Honda or something, and this is like 1992, 93. And she had this mechanic that she just loved. This mechanic, she'd take her car to the mechanic like every couple of months, every 2-3 months, and he would fix her problem on her car, and then he'd let her pay it out, 2-3 months, and then something else would go wrong, and then she'd have to take it back again. Oh, he's so great because he lets me pay it out, and he was just taking advantage of her. He wasn't solving the problem. He was just temporarily fixing it, and then now this guy has a permanent string of income, I'm sure just not with her, coming in. So this is what Benjamin Netanyahu is doing. He's not solving the situation. He's just stringing it out. I'm not saying that him and Hamas are on the phone going, okay, my poll numbers are going down, so you guys need to launch some rockets so my poll numbers can come back up, and you guys, I'll call you and let you know where we're going to bomb so you guys can hide. I mean, that's not really, hopefully, I would pray to God that's not the situation, but it does look like he doesn't really intend to, destroy Hamas, because if the rockets are launching from a controlled area, the only way you can stop those rockets is to take that area. Okay, this was proven in World War II when the rockets were firing from Belgium and Netherlands into London. And what do? They shift the supply, Allied supply effort to help Montgomery with his Operation Market Garden, so he would, leapfrog into Germany and through Belgium and Netherlands and wipe out those launch sites. Because if you got the Germans back into Germany out of Belgium and Netherlands, they wouldn't have launch sites. Okay, and here Patton was doing this Hail Mary pass all over France and killing more Germans than anybody, but the Germans were killing more people in London than was acceptable. So that's why the supply went over to Montgomery and they launched this attack. So this is what's going on with Bibi Netanyahu. You can't defeat an enemy if you give them a safe haven to launch the rockets. But it works good for Bibi Netanyahu because that boogeyman's always there. The threat is always there. So if the threat is always there, you're always, you're going to run to the right. You're going to run to Bibi Netanyahu, supposedly giving you safe haven, right? So anyway, but hopefully all this is over with. I don't think this is going to last very long because you'll still have Bibi Netanyahu in the Knesset for another 5-6 years before he even gets convicted. And then he's got appeals and stuff like that, and he'll still be running in opposition. He's done this before. He ran in opposition back in the late 90s. He ran in opposition, back when Sharon was the head of the Likud, and he ran in opposition all the way up to 2009, and then boom, he became prime minister. So he's very good at running in opposition, because when you're in opposition, you don't have to make the hard decisions. All you got to do is just criticize all the decisions of your opponent who has to make the hard decisions. Okay, it's easy to sit on the sidelines and to, Sunday quarterback. Oh, you shouldn't have done this. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. Da 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 da. When you're not making the hard decisions, and who are we going to have making the hard decisions for the first 2 years? Well, we've got another right-wing guy, a settler proponent, and who doesn't believe in a Palestinian state. And then you've got another person in that coalition on the other end who's an Islamist who believes that there shouldn't be an Israeli state, there should be a Palestinian, a whole Palestinian state with the Palestinians in majority. So those two guys are not going to make very good bedfellows. Okay? They may, oh yeah, we're united to get rid of Benjamin Netanyahu, but after the common enemy is gone, those fissures are going to turn into canyons. And especially if Hamas launches any rockets, okay, guess what's going to happen? Bennett's going to have no choice but to attack Gaza. And guess what's going to happen with Masoud Abbas, or whatever his name is, the Islamist? He's going to bolt from the government. And then boom, you got new elections automatically. Okay? Or, worse yet, you've got Masoud on the phone with Bennett saying, hey, if you don't stop launching rockets, or if you don't stop bombing Gaza, I'm going to bolt from the government and we'll have new elections. Okay, and then it'll just be a stomach of how much Bennett either is balancing between having another election where Bibi Netanyahu could win again, or shutting down the rockets, So I would, actually this may be good, because your only choice then, because you can't just keep bombing, you've got to take out the launch site. So maybe this may be good. Maybe Bennett will finally be the one that invades Gaza and takes out Hamas. Who knows? But even if he does that, then you've got Mahmoud Abbas, bolting from the government, new elections. So it's just going to be a race of figuring out who's going to, do what. So none of this ends in anything good for Israelis. None of this ends in anything that's positive. You've got 8 massive egos in this coalition with all different types of agenda pointing in different directions. I don't see this lasting very much longer. 6 months, a year. But I could be wrong. You never know. You never know what could happen. Maybe they sweetened the deal so much with the boss that, they offered him enough money for schools and whatever to improve the Arab areas that maybe he'll look the other way. He'll hold his nose and look the other way if another Gaza war happens. But I doubt it. So look for another Gaza war between now and December, and then the breakup of this coalition, and then new elections. But I could be wrong. You never know. You never know. I'm always surprised about what could happen. I look at the situation realistically, and I give the worst case usually scenario. But hey, stranger things have happened, right? Okay, so we're moving on here. We're going to go into the websites and just see how everyone is absorbing this news. This is just very, very recent news that the coalition is going to form there. So you got a new president in Israel. This is Herzog. He actually ran against Netanyahu about 6 years ago. Same kind of coalition as Blue and White, but he lost. But now he is president, and Rivlin won't be president. Let's see, 1-6. Let's see, major American Jewish organizations. Wow, he was busy on 6-1 2 days ago. Wow. Yeah, he met with major American Jewish organization leaders. Yeah, and thank God we don't have Benjamin Netanyahu to tell us that because if we vote Democrat, we're anti-Israel, like a bunch of crap. Let's see. Now we'll get into the Prime Minister's office on Facebook. See what happens here. See if this will come up at all. There we go. All right. Hopefully, yeah. One thing Benjamin Netanyahu is pretty good at is he doesn't use the Prime Minister's office for as much openly political purposes. But we'll see here. So this is him congratulating the new president, Chaim Herzog. I thought his name was Isaac. Yeah, his name's... Okay, anyway. So Herzog, I believe, was the first president. No. Chaim Weizmann was the first president. I think Herzog was his second president, so this is like his son or his grandson. Let's see. Okay, he's meeting with the Hungarian foreign minister again. Your wonderful friends of Israel, you stood by us against the cynical decisions that's promoted in the UN and the Council of Ministers. What's with this guy's suit? You know, like wearing his high school suit. Anyway, all right, so let's see. We'll keep moving on here. We'll back up. We're going to go back 2 days. Prime Minister Netanyahu meeting with Ted Cruz and Bill Haggerty. Well, I don't really care for Republicans and their domestic policies, but at least they support Israel, so that's kind of a good thing. But they're all a bunch of damn... I mean, it's just pathetic what's happened to the Republican Party. It's turned into a neo-fascist cult of Trump party. You know, Reagan would just completely be spinning in his grave. Ike would just be outraged. You know, whatever happened to a party of the people, not a party of Trump. But anyway, let's see. Prime Minister Netanyahu met with a conference of major American Jewish organizations, including Chair Diane Loeb, Vice Chair Malcolm Hoenlein, and Chief Executive Officer William C. Daroff. The delegation came to Israel to express solidarity and support for the state of Israel against the background of Operation Guardian Wall. So these are probably Orthodox people here, or conservative. So hopefully in this new coalition we'll see some kind of law passed about freedom of worship and civil marriage. Hopefully we can get the rabbinate out of the business of marriage for people that aren't Orthodox. If they want to marry people that are Orthodox, that's perfectly fine with me, but they shouldn't hold an administrative position, a civil position, from the rabbinate, which is almost completely run by the ultra conservative Haredi. You know, it's sort of like this. If in the United States, say the Mormons controlled the marriage office in every county in the United States, and they could decide who was eligible to get married and who couldn't. You know, so they could say, hey, because you're not Orthodox or you were converted to Judaism under a Reform rabbi, under something like that, then you can't be married. You can't get married, which is total bullshit. You know, freedom, pursuit of happiness, freedom of expression, stuff like that doesn't apply in Israel. All right, let's see. We'll go back a little further. One more day. Meet with Ted Cruz. Let's see. Prime Minister Netanyahu led a ceremony for the new director of Mossad. Our greatest threat is existential threat posed by Iran's efforts to arm itself with nuclear weapons, whether to threaten us directly with atomic weapons, with the destruction of a small state, or threaten us with tens of thousands of missiles. Yeah, so that's the thing. If you can't stop Hamas and their rockets, which are so close, how do you even expect to come close to stopping Iran and their missiles, which are so far? And you've had 12 years to do it and do nothing. Although, probably a lot of you don't remember, but back in 2012, I was warning everyone I could talk to that Benjamin Netanyahu was going to launch a nuclear bomb attack on Iran, which I'm not for Iran developing nuclear weapons, but a nuclear bombed attack like that, because they would need the nuclear bombs to go after their bunkers where these, nuclear facilities are at, was a grave, and doing it unilaterally outside of using also the U.S. military to do the same thing would have grave consequences for the Middle East. And what did I find? What did we find out 5-6 years later? I was exactly right. That's exactly what was going to happen, and it was only because of extreme pressure from the Obama administration that didn't occur. So anyway, so we're moving on here. We're going to the Twitter account for the Prime Minister's office. Let's see. Not saying that, there shouldn't be someday, if Iran doesn't follow the rules, some kind of bombing attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. But Israel unilaterally doing it on its own would have grave consequences for the Middle East there. All right, here's the Prime Minister's office. Kind of the same thing. Meeting with Herzog. Meeting with the Hungarian guys. Meeting with Cruz. Meeting with Cruz. Da-da-da. It's kind of the same thing. Lindsey Graham. All right, so we're going to go into the Foreign Ministry's office. This is their website. Congratulations, President-elect Isaac Herzog. Well, at least it's good to have a president there. Anyway, so their website is frozen there. We'll go on to their Facebook page. We can get that to move here. Hold on 1 second. All right, so it's still spinning for some reason. Let's see here. Anything to move on their Facebook page? There we go. All right, Israeli Foreign Affairs Ministry was live in Sderot. We're live at the Jewish National Fund, Sderot Animal Resilience Center, which helps kids from southern Israel cope with ongoing post-trauma from the rocket attacks. And you wouldn't be having to do that if they would go in and wipe out Hamas in Gaza, invade Gaza and wipe them out. But hey, whatever works for you. That is cute, though. Let's see, and then they're talking about, congratulations, Isaac Herzog, 7-year president. The president before Rivlin, I really like Rivlin, was actually sent to jail also for sexual harassment. So thank God he's gone. Let's see, live Hungarian Minister Peter Zarto and Israeli Foreign Minister Gabi Ashkenazi visit the city of Petach Tikva at the site where a Hamas rocket fired from Gaza. The latest rounds of violence. This is exactly what I was saying a couple days ago. They were not even showing anything. And I'm like, hey, do you mean there's no damage left over from the rockets? There may not be rockets flowing, but there's no damage. There's no people in hospitals. And here they go. They're following my advice, exactly what I said to do. Go visit the sites, get to show them around. See, I think the reality is that a lot of European countries, they don't want to know about the damage, or they want to be blind to the damage that Hamas is doing. So there's Gabi Ashkenazi. I don't understand why this guy isn't the prime minister. He'd make a great prime minister. He's a tough guy, ex-military, level head on his shoulder. His first priority is always Israel. You never see him talk about himself and, me, like Bibi Netanyahu. But hopefully one day he will be prime minister. All right, let's see. We got, after difficult 15 months, today an end to almost all of COVID restrictions goes into effect. This is great, although there's still a lot of people running around that aren't vaccinated. I've been having this fight with this guy, an American who's living in Israel, who's not even Jewish, has been running around the last, 6 months complaining about, Bibi Netanyahu and the vaccination programs trying to kill Jews, and people that are taking the vaccination are gonna start dying off and crap like that. Just a bunch of crap. But he's still in the country. I don't understand how he can stay in the country, but there he is. I'm not going to mention any names. Let's see. Oh, and then the beautiful Yarkon River. Yeah, remember that crap? Anyway. Okay, so we're going to get into their Twitter accounts. Probably going to be most of the same thing. Two faces, same terror. ISIS, Hamas, yeah, all this is all Islamic terror. Now, not all people that are Islamic are terrorists, okay? Let's be really clear about that. Not all Muslims are terrorists, just like not all fundamentalist right-wing Christians are Nazis, okay? But that's where the the feeders are for that is coming from those, from the the fundamentalist Islamist type groups there. And so it's always like a pyramid, okay? So if you have a terrorist on top, and it's like I used to do sales, so there's sort of like a sales funnel for terrorism, okay? So the end product, in sales you have a sale. Well, the end product in fundamentalist Islam is the terrorist willing to sacrifice himself and take out others. And then before that, you have recruitment. And then before that, you have support from the general Islamist community. And so it's sort of the same thing. It's a sales funnel, almost exactly the same thing. All right, let's see here. We at Israel in Toronto are proud to host President Reuven Rivlin on his state visit to Canada. And President-elect Isaac Herzog, who voted to the Knesset and addressed and I'm not sure what that means, and addressed the Jewish agency emissaries at our office. This is no higher honor than to serve your country. See, this is very good. This is what the president should be doing, getting out there, promoting the good side of Israel, among the nations, not just doing it in Israel. All right, so there's more about President Rivlin. Here's President Rivlin and her President Isaac. Good people there. All right. Second edition policy planning dialogue between the Israel Foreign Ministry and the Foreign Ministry of Vietnam was conducted today. Fruitful exchanges about global and regional tendencies and how to address them. Fascinating. Well, I'm not a big fan of cozying up to the Chinese or Israel's ridiculous cozying up to the that's Vietnam, excuse me, or Israel's ridiculous cozying up to the Chinese under Bibi Netanyahu. I mean, basically the Chinese, they built the Haifa tunnel. They're half partners in running the Haifa port. You got 6,000 Chinese running around Tel Aviv building the Tel Aviv subway. You mean to tell me that there aren't any Israelis that are unemployed that could be working on that subway? There aren't European and American companies that could bid for that contract and build that same subway? There's nobody in Europe that can build a subway. There's nobody in Europe that could run that port. Nobody there that could partner up with Israel ports to run the port there. We got to join up with the Chinese just because they're the lowest bidder. I mean, come on. I mean, that's just ridiculous. To kiss up to a country that murders thousands, if not millions of people around the world, carries out an aggressive anti-Western policy, not just against the United States, but against every democratic country that's out there. And we're cozying up with the Chinese. I mean, this is ridiculous. But, it all comes back around. Hopefully that'll change. Let's see. 22 hours ago, they're using their children there to promote terrorism. Let's see. Marhaba, shalom, hello, welcome to the official page of the Israel Expo Dubai. Stay with us to know more about our country. So here's another thing. You got Dubai. I mean, it's good that, they're finally coming around and recognizing us, but you've got Dubai is also now able to openly bid on projects in Israel that we have no control on once they started the construction. From a security standpoint, I think that's very dangerous. But that's what you get from the Bibi Netanyahu government that's basically a sellout to anybody. The highest bidder. Okay, Israeli police, let's see if they've updated anything here. Ooh, I got to step up the pace here. 33 minutes. All right, Israeli police. Let's see. Let me just refresh it. Make sure nothing has shown up lately. All right. Okay, no, it's the same. Oh, and that's a pin. That's a pinned one. Let's see if there's anything beyond that one. Operation Law and Order. Thousands of police and border patrol fighters continue to act against those involved in violent incidents in recent weeks. More than 2,100 arrests have been made. Activity in Kafr Khana and Eshkal. That's good. Keep the pressure on. That's the way to do it. Missing 17-year-old Salih Cabrero has been located. Very good. Let's see. The fight against illegal weapons in Arab society, an undercover investigation of the crime counter unit in Sharon space led to the gathering of evidence against weapons dealers from the Triangle cities and the arrest of 13 suspects. Now, I used to date this girl that lived on this moshav down in the Negev near Beersheba, and every Shabbat, as we're walking to the synagogue, the sun's going down, you could hear the gunfire erupting over in Tel Sheva. Is it Tel Sheva? Yeah, Tel Sheva, which is sort of like an Arab Bedouin community. And so every Friday, they would have weddings, okay? And then when they would have these weddings, they'd bring out their guns and shoot up in the air in celebration. But these weren't pistols. These were like automatic weapons, okay? So it just made me very nervous to know that just, 500, a kilometer, 2 kilometers away, was a whole city full of Arabs with automatic weapons in Israel, just firing them off randomly. And the police did nothing to stop it. Okay, this is why there's a lot of crime and violence going on in the Arab cities, because the police at the time weren't doing anything to stop that, to round up those weapons. Anyway, and I mean to tell you, they're firing in celebration for a wedding, and they may say they're all loyal, but we saw what happened in Lod, we saw what happened in Ramla, and the corners of the borders of Jaffa, when the Israeli Arab citizens turned on Israeli Jewish citizens and started attacking them, dragging them out of their cars, beating them. Now you put a couple of automatic weapons in their hands, and you got a third rail, different kind of problem going on there. Hopefully the Shin Bet and the police are up on that. This is the Israeli police Twitter account. Let's see. It looks like it's basically the same as last time. Kind of roll back here. Yeah, nothing new under the sun going on. You see, there's one Arab guy right there with a handgun, walks right up to a police checkpoint and starts firing. Anyway, all right, moving on here. Let's see, the Defense Ministry. This is their webpage. There's probably not going to be anything new, because they weren't even posting anything new when there was a war going on. So while that's loading up here, I'll grab some of my soda. Yep, and like I said, oh, wait a minute. They did actually post something. Wow, very good. Okay. Seabot in Israel Ministry of Defense, the scope of Israel's defense export contracts. Okay. So, well, it took Took them almost a month and a half to post anything. So Seabot is a great organization. It's sort of a semi-private, semi-government organization. What they do is they take all the old weapons that Israel is not using anymore or is confiscated, and they use Seabot as kind of sort of a general warehouse to sell these weapons around the world. It makes money for Israel. It helps other countries in their defense. So this is why you see, you go to other countries, even countries that aren't friendly to Israel, you'll see old Israeli rifles and weapons and tanks, and even what are those called? Uzis, those little Uzi 9mm guns. So what happens, a lot of these countries, they'll buy them and then they'll off-sell them to other countries. Some of these countries actually end up being enemies of Israel. So like you'll see Iran, a lot of their special forces has loads of these Uzi submachine guns. That goes back to the days of the Shah, though, but some of it is recent. Let's see. Now we go to their defense ministry. See, they're good. At least they're trying to update. This is just another same article about CBOT. 8.3 billion. This is why Israel's lifestyle is a little better than the rest of the world, because that 8.3 billion goes back, produces jobs. Those people were buying homes, spending their money in the local stores and the supermarkets, buying electronics, things like that. Unfortunately, a lot of the electronics we're buying is all coming from China, so that money's going out the door. Let's see. Here's the Defense Ministry Twitter site. Let's see if there's anything happening here. Anything recent? CBOT again. I mean, come on. There's got to be more going on than just CBOT, right? All right, let's see. Let's go to the IDF web page. And they're still on this Hamas tunnel video. Nothing else new, though. Nothing new. Absolutely pathetic. Let's see. What about the Facebook page? Let's see here. All right, 19 hours ago, the braid of a fighter. This week, Second Lieutenant Tal and Private Yali decided to give back and donate their hair for cancer patients. Okay. I'm not sure what that has to do with cancer, but maybe it's some kind of pledge thing. Oh, that's a good PR thing, I guess. Let's see. What about? I pass by the place every morning, and I drive by and I slow down. The first line in Hebrew on the outside of the club says, "We won't stop dancing because it happened at a discotheque. People came here to dance, children came here to dance, and we will continue." On June 1st, 2001, one of the worst terrorist attacks in history was carried out. Yeah, I remember this. But okay, that's not the site. That's just some of the people that were lost. It was a discotheque right there just south of the main beaches of Tel Aviv. I've been by this place. It's the Dolphin Aquarium, I believe, Dolphin Discotheque. Many people were killed there by a Hamas bomber. Let's see, 2 days ago. There's a little Where's Waldo girl spokesman. Need to get rid of this girl. You spend too much time worrying about the way she looks and her Where's Waldo look than actually what she's saying. All right, Twitter account. This is for the IDF. Let's see if anything else new is happening. 20 hours ago, in cooperation with Israel Security Agency, we apprehended a senior Hamas official in Judea and Samaria, Sheikh Jamal al-Tawil, last night in Ramallah. Al-Tawil recently took part in organizing violent riots, excitement to violence, and reestablishment of the Hamas HQ in Ramallah. And see, this should keep going on and should increase, actually. On this Memorial Day, we stand with the United States of America, remembering the men and women who fell while serving. Okay, that's for Memorial Day. Okay, now we're going to the news sites. Ooh, we only got like 18 minutes. I have to fly through this real quick. Let's see what's going on here. Proposal, portfolio rotation after 2 years. Yeah. She's trying to reinsert herself back into the situation here. Let's see. Bennett to meet with Mansour. Abbas. Shakid agrees to rotation. Let's see. Google diversity head, Jews have insatiable appetite for war. Well, that guy needs to be fired. Let's see. North Korea saw bodies in the street. Rabbis take a stand on mental health for once and for all. Yeah, they're a bunch of crazies. I mean, if you ever go to Meir Sharim, you'll see the ultimate in mental health breakdown right there. It's just ridiculous. I've seen people, the Haredi, lay down in front of buses because the bus had an advertisement on the side that showed like a girl in shorts, okay? And they thought that was too immodest, so they laid down in the street, and while he was laid down in the street, his cohorts were ripping the sign off the side of the bus. Well, first thing, there's two things that are wrong there. Egghead should know better than to run a bus with an advertisement like that through Meir Sharim because they know what's going to happen. And then the police should be arresting people that are stopping buses in transportation like that to send a message that you're not allowed to do that. Shakid agrees to rotation for judicial appointment committee. Yeah, this woman, Shakid's just absolutely ridiculous. Her and her husband are absolute millionaires, but they want to go around and tell people on the judicial committee how they can live their lives financially and what they can and can't do in Israel. Let's see. Yamina refuses coalition demands made by United Arab List. Of course, like I said, it's a coalition held together by paper and gum. It'll only take one little thing to break it apart, and then we're back at elections. Let's see. The lie that eternally bugs Israel. Let's see what that lie is here. What the hell happened here? Oh, this is just an opinion piece. All right, so we'll go into Debka file real quick. See if anything news going on there. Oh wow, Dr. Eilat Mazar, noted archaeologist of ancient Jerusalem, dies. Wow. She was very, very good. Very, very professional. I really liked that lady. She had a lot of good stuff. She did some really good work. I had some friends working down there in the city of David on the dig down there, and they had nothing but praise about her. Wow, only 65. That's unfortunate. So there's a lot of myths saying that the city of David never actually existed and King David never actually existed. And she was able to prove through archaeology that there was a city of David and there was even a King David. It may not have been as big as the Bible says, because that's what you do when you write propaganda. You always puff things up bigger than they were. But saying that it didn't exist, that's completely ridiculous. Lapid meets the deadline for his government change. Let's see. Yeah, we'll see. I guarantee you within 1 week, there's going to be cracks in the coalition. I guarantee you. Now, I don't agree it's the fraud of the century, like Netanyahu's saying, but, at least it's something. All right, we'll jump into Globes real quick, see how this coalition news is affecting the economy of Israel. Lapid tells Rivlin, I formed a new government. Biggest winner of the 24th Knesset is Yair Lapid. I don't see how he could be a winner. He's not going to be prime minister for 2 years. This coalition will not last 2 years, so that means he's never going to be prime minister. So, but that's the only way they could get, that's the only way they could get Bennett on board. But like I said, as soon as Bennett does anything that Abbas doesn't like, Masoud Abbas, he's going to bolt from the coalition, and then there's going to be new elections. And it'll be like nothing ever happened. Whether it's 6 months or 1 year or a year and a half from now. Let's see if this one will come up. Haaretz, there we go. Israel's Jewish-Arab rift resurfaced this year, but coalition deal changes that. We'll see. It just depends on how much, I guess, the survival of this coalition is going to depend on how much this guy is under pressure from other Palestinian Arabs, and how much of an asshole he wants to be, and how much he wants to push it, and how much on the opposite end Bennett's people are pushing him, and how much of an asshole he wants to be, and how much he wants to push it. So we'll see. It's going to be very interesting to see the balancing act. In first remarks, Netanyahu decries dangerous Bennett-Lapid coalition. Lapid moves to replace Knesset Speaker but fails to notify Bennett's party. A toddler, a tantrum, a trauma, a Sheikh Jarrah checkpoint. TikTok, latest effect turning Israelis into Arabic music fans. That's not exactly true. They've always been big Arabic music fans. You can go down to the beaches in Tel Aviv, and they're constantly playing. The Israelis are constantly playing and dancing to Arabic music down there, so this is no big deal. As new COVID cases near zero, experts urge Israel to prepare for next pandemic. Well, that's one thing. You got to give it to Bibi Netanyahu for pushing the rapid COVID vaccination program. That's one good thing that will stand the test of history that he did. That is a high mark in his administration. Let's see. Israeli intel officer who died mysteriously in jail buried in civilian cemetery. Huh. I wonder if that's that Australian guy. Oh, he died in the line of duty. Okay. No, I think that's... Oh, he's 2 weeks ago. Was buried in civilian. We could use... Why was he in prison if he was so brilliant? Well, there was this Australian guy who immigrated to Israel, I believe as a teenager, and went in the IDF and eventually ended up in the Mossad, and actually ended up in prison, and I believe he committed suicide in prison because he was losing it mentally. But I think he went to prison because he was trying to make deals with the Arabs or something outside of what his instructions were. But who is this guy? Anyway, I don't know who this guy is, but alright, let's go on. We're almost to the end here. We'll just skip through these things. Let's see the Hamodia. This is more Haredi news here. Let's see, reports of progress in coalition talks. See, they're behind. There's already been coalition talks, and they put it together. Poll, almost half Likud for Netanyahu stepping aside. See, why didn't they do that before? I mean, Gabi Ashkenazi could have taken over the the Likud and been prime minister. But nope, they decided to allow Bibi Netanyahu take down Likud with them. Not that I'm a big fan of Likud, but let's see. U.S. says ransomware attack on meatpacker JBS likely from Russia. They must not have anything else better to do if they're going to. Russia's attacking a Jewish meatpacker site in Brazil. Good Lord. Anyway, I guess that's the easy attack there. See, a lot of these things that happen in Russia with these ransomware attacks are done by people that are not in the government. They're freelancers, I guess you could say. They're paid by the government here. You know, we'll give you money for doing this and attacking that and hacking this. And so they're going for that easy A. They're getting money. It's easier to attack some Jewish meatpacker service in Brazil than it is to attack the Pentagon computers. So they're going for that easy A, just to, maybe they had to make rent this week or something in St. Petersburg. All right, let's see. Survey decrees. AJC survey shows degree of Jewish support for Biden. Well, of course, the majority of American Jews have always been Democrats, will always be Democrats. Despite what Trump and the, Bibi Netanyahu say about Democrat Jews, the majority are always going to be Democrats and always have support for Israel. Maybe 15-20% will go to Republicans, but they see what Republican values are, and it's not aligned with Jewish values. It's pretty simple. Let's see. Gaza truce shifts focus to Egypt. Third Lebanon war. This is the same shit from yesterday. Let's see. Cruz, Biden showed weakness, emboldened Hamas. That's total bullshit. Biden gave Israel everything they wanted, so this is just another political ploy. Biden's always been a supporter of Israel. Cruz is a latecomer. Biden's been supporting Israel since the 70s when, Cruz was back in high school, chasing 13-year-olds. Let's see. What else we got here? And this is Israel Today. Orthodox Jews tremble as a new government looms. Yeah, thank God. It'll be one of the first governments without the Haredi blackmailing the government to support their people. So now they actually, I actually hope this coalition lasts at least a couple years, because all these, Haredi leeches are now going to have to go get jobs. They can't suck off the tit of the Israeli taxpayer, and they actually may have to serve in the military this time. Let's see. All right, almost done here. I-24 News. Yeah, that's what always gets me about the Haredi, is that they've always been like kingmakers. Okay, but see, now you've got the almost as bad. You got the Arab Islamists is now the kingmaker, but the Haredi kingmakers have always, been leeches on the government, leeches on the people who actually work and pay taxes, and this way they don't have to work. They can stay in yeshiva for 6-7 years until they're 30 freaking years old. They don't have to serve in the military. They can have 10 kids, and all that's paid by the government. The rabbis' salaries are paid for by you and me, the Israeli taxpayer. Their, yeshivas and their synagogues are built and paid for by us, the Israeli taxpayer, who sends our kids off to, in the military and, pays our taxes. And then these assholes, they still want more. Let's see. What else we got here? Okay, the Jerusalem Post. What do we have here? We'll let that spin. Let that bring it up. Bennett gets full Shin Bet prime ministerial protection. Lapid needs to get it too because he's going to be a future prime minister. You know, it wouldn't be beyond the extremists in the right-wing settler movement to try to gun down Lapid. So, you know, Bennett would have 4 years, 5 years as prime minister. And their stupid thinking. Lapid tells Rivlin, I have succeeded in forming government. I've seen that. From hope to despair, Israel's reaction to the new anti-Netanyahu coalition. But like I said, Bibi Netanyahu isn't going anywhere. He's going to be a bomb thrower, a rock thrower at this glass house coalition. He knows all he's got to do is play the edges, either with the Israel Betanyu party or even Bennett's party. Just a little shake-up here and there, a little whisper campaign, and this coalition falls apart overnight. UNRWA Gaza chief recalled after uproar over claim that IDF strikes precise. Well, he was correct. Okay, he was absolutely correct. But, you know, the truth, like in the Bibi government, doesn't last very long in Hamas-held cult of Gaza, or Gazastan, I guess you could say. Let's see, just 2 more websites and we're done here. I think there's not much on Channel 7. Let's see, we'll go to Ynet News and we'll wrap this up here. Let's see. It's spinning. See, a lot of these websites, they put out these little bots and they're trying to, you know, these little cookie bots that are trying to read and, you know, for advertisement purposes and tracking purposes, and it causes the computers to spin, my computer to spin, because I have a lot of that anti-bot stuff on my computer. Gunmen open fires on Ynet Arab Affairs reporter's home, nearly hitting children. Hassan Shalan, who received threats on his life, a journalist worked before, says shooters showered his Tayyibi home with bullets while family inside. Of course, you know, that's what truth, people who hate the truth always want to kill the messenger. You know, it's not deal with the reality and deal with the problem. You know, hey, look, the emperor has new clothes. No. You want to kill the messenger. That's the way it is in Israel. That's the way it is among the Arabs. That's the way it is, you know, among many people, especially Republicans. Avoid the truth. If it doesn't align with our ideology and our ideological outlook, then kill the messenger. Okay? Don't look at the problem, try to fix the problem, kill the message, and the problem will go away. That's their mentality there. And whether that's in the Trump Republican Party, whether that's in the Arab world, the Hamas parties, or even in the Israeli right wing, it's the same thing. Kill the truth, because the truth can always be replaced with your ideology, as long as you keep killing enough of the messengers. Okay? Let's see. Government in waiting seeks to replace Knesset Speaker. EU officials seeks new Iran deal next round of talks. Basically, Biden just needs to push for complete shutdown of all of Iran's nuclear program. Okay? Because as long as they have a reactor, they're going to be trying to secretly build nuclear weapons. It's just that simple. Lapid informs Rivlin he succeeded in forming government. Let's see what else we got here. I think we're almost done. That's a little behind. Okay, so we're done with the news there. Like I said, we'll see. I'm predicting that you'll start seeing, if this coalition actually gets sworn in and Bennett gets sworn in as Prime Minister, within a month, we're going to start seeing cracks in the coalition. Bibi Netanyahu, once he gets in the opposition, is just going to start being a firebomb thrower. I mean, that's just basically what his job is going to be until this coalition breaks and there's new elections, or he goes to jail, which that could be a long time. So get ready for that. I doubt this coalition will last to the end of the year, but stranger things have happened. But we'll start to see breaks and cracks in this coalition in the first month here. All right? Okay, so take care. Not Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom tomorrow. And we'll see you next time. All right, have fun. Bye-bye.